Hello and welcome to Budget 2011, the Growth Agenda. Being the finance minister is a difficult job on most days. In February, it gets worse. And this year, it's particularly scary for Pranab Mukherjee because inflation is surging, global investors have become jittery, and there are two major but contentious tax reforms that are happening. So what is industry expecting, especially on the tax front? To answer that question, I have with me Bharat Doshi, Executive Director and Group CFO, Mahindra & Mahindra, Seshagiri Rao, Joint Managing Director and Group CFO of JSW, and tax experts Hitesh Gajaria and Sachin Menon from KPMG. Mr. Doshi, let me start with you. This is a particularly difficult year for the FM to be doing the budget. The India story, which was so robust, so colorful so far, has suddenly taken a turn for the worse. Investors are suddenly jittery about putting money in this market. Inflation has become a huge concern. So what are you really expecting for the budget this year?
If one looks at it and assuming that all these signals which you mentioned have reached the ears of the finance minister, then one has to bring in confidence back. A confidence in the public mind that scams and other things might have happened, but they are going to be the thing of the past. A confidence in the public mind that there is this reform paralysis from which we will come out of, and signal to the world that we are back on the track for financial and other reforms. Similarly, one has talked about inclusive growth last year. The question is whether we can sustain the growth rate. I mean, to have achieved an 8.5, 8.6 is fine. Can we go stepping forward, as the economic advisor today predicted, that talked about a 9% growth is possible. It is possible with the right action and the right steps to restore confidence in private investment, in foreign direct investment, and then you will see the change. And one hopes that the finance minister is reading all these signals.
Right. Mr. Rao, what are the 3 or 4 things you'd want the FM to be very clear about in this year's budget?
The budget will be aligned more towards the growth and also stimulate consumption. So the policy aspects with regard to stimulating investments and giving a clear roadmap as regards to reforms. I think if that is given in the budget, things will become normal, and again we will come to the accelerated growth which we would like to see in India, which can happen in my view.
Right. Hitesh, budget is not really meant to be a policy document by any stretch of imagination, except that in India it has happened to be the case over the years. It's essentially a budget exercise for the government. And this year we have 2 major tax reforms which are actually happening outside of the budget, which is the DTC and the GST. So do you see any big scope for any rationalization or increase or decrease in direct tax rates?
Well, the finance minister can certainly use this budget to align himself with what he has anyway proposed in the direct taxes code. For instance, given the need of the hour that inflation is really biting the common man, there is need for him to increase the threshold exemption limits for personal taxation, for example, from 160,000 to as much as 200,000, which is anyway proposed in the next direct taxes code bill. Similarly, on the corporate side, removal of surcharges, education cess, etc. is a long crying need, and the finance minister can do well to remove those. On the flip side, if people really ask where are the extra revenues going to come from, possibly again in the same measure of aligning the minimum alternate tax rate, possibly in this budget I would anticipate the finance minister to raise from 15 to at least 18, so that next year when it is 20 it is really a alignment and not straight away jumping from 15 to 20. So these, I think, would be some of the headline rates which I would expect the finance minister to look at carefully.
Right. Sachin, I'll come to you for the indirect tax, but meanwhile, Mr. Doshi, I want to get your sense on corporate tax rates. The DTC says it will be about 30%. Are you happy with that rate, or would you want it reduced further? And what about the surcharge and education cess? Would you like that to be done away with?
Definitely surcharge. We have always known that surcharges are supposed to be temporary but stay forever. And it is better than to, at a given point, if government needs, to think about the rate, but instead of trying to put A, B, C surcharges. And anyway, at this juncture, whatever be the need of that surcharge which might have come some years ago, removing them and putting it in one rate. In the long term, a tax rate between 25 and 30 is a fair rate. It's a question of how the budget exercise proceeds year after year. One thing which I have a little difference here from Hitesh regarding the MAT. On the one hand, you provide tax incentives. And the whole idea of depreciation charge, let us say, on a written down value method, is that in a way you are having a faster recovery of that depreciation. Logic being and particularly relevant in this time of inflation. That if you try to visualize that is this depreciation adequate to reinvest at a later date, and if this is the type of rate of inflation, it is not adequate. Now in that event, an accelerated depreciation makes sense. But on the one hand, if you give accelerated depreciation and take it away by an increased MAT rate, then it is counter in the policy.
Mr. Rao, let me also get your thought on the corporate tax rates. Definitely want the surcharge and education cess to go?
No, in India, if you see, after liberalization, when the tax rates went on reducing, then the tax revenues went up. Therefore, it is very much essential for a country like ours, where we are in the development phase. Reducing tax rates is very much essential. And at the same time, when DTC first draft was announced, when it was 25%, we were all very happy. So now it has been revised to 30%. In fact, if the tax rates are reduced, surcharge is removed, cesses are removed, I think government will get more revenue rather than increasing the rates. It is, in my view, counterproductive. It will not drive the investments. So it has to be reduced, in my view. At the same time, as far as MAT is concerned, as Bharat rightly pointed out, in the case of MAT, it has a character of paying tax in advance. One, we have been asked, industry has been asked to pay the MAT. At the same time, there is no interest also on the MAT. So when the tax rates are being increased, particularly MAT, from 18 to 20%, it is almost getting aligned with the normal interest rates.
That's right.
So I don't think the MAT should be increased, number one. It should be reduced. Number two is, whatever tax that is being paid in the form of MAT, the interest has to be paid to the corporates.
Right. Now, Hitesh, if you look at some business chambers, they actually asked for removal of MAT altogether. I don't think the FM is going to listen to that, but...
No, let me clarify in what background I said the MAT perhaps will be looked at and increased. It is in the context of alignment of rates, purely from that perspective. In principle, I agree with Mr. Doshi that it is in a sense giving with one hand and taking away with the other. But as you rightly mentioned, since budget is a balancing exercise, and really I believe now, I firmly believe that you can't really satisfy everybody in a budget. A budget, to my mind, is successful when it spreads dissatisfaction more uniformly, if that's the way I put it. Now, if the finance ministry has to get some revenues, then purely from an alignment perspective, he will look at MAT is what I fear. Not that I want it, but I believe that from a revenue perspective, that could be one of the easiest way, and he has a justification that I'm only aligning it to what the DTC has stated.
Right, okay.
Only in the case of budget exercise, we are looking at only one variable, that is revenues. Expenditure side also, there are a lot of things which the government can do.
Absolutely.
Right. On that note, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about direct tax expectations and, of course, indirect taxes. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Budget 2011, the growth agenda. Now, Hitesh, there are other issues which industry is really sore about. For example, this whole dividend distribution tax. There's a lot of cascading impact that happens. Do you expect the finance minister to do something about it this year?
You raised a very right point. I think cascading happens because of the way the industries are structured among various companies, and there are layers of companies, each with legitimate commercial reason. Otherwise, there's no necessity for these layering. Now, at this point in time, under the Act, you get a pass-through of that tax only at one level. Industry has been making suggestions that this pass-through of dividend distribution tax should go right up the value chain so that there is no additional cascading. I think that's something which one hopes the finance minister will correct in this budget.
And it existed earlier in terms of the Section 80.
Absolutely.
And that similar section can come back.
You're absolutely right. But even I'm concerned about one more aspect, which is the proposed control foreign companies legislation which is being proposed in direct taxes code, which means they want to tax all foreign incomes even before they are distributed. Now the way I look at it, if you want really India and Indian entrepreneurs to go global and you want to encourage that, then what you can do is remove this harsh rate of full corporate tax on dividends which are actually repatriated to India. At best, you put it at par with local dividend distribution tax, so that when a company brings back dividends from its subsidiaries overseas, you only tax it at 15% and not at the full corporate rate of 30%.
Right.
So I think these are two measures which the finance minister has to look at.
Is that a big issue right now, Mr. Rao? Especially a tax on dividends paid by your overseas entities?
Yeah, because there are several Indian corporates who went abroad and made acquisitions.
Right.
So they are all now bearing fruits. So the dividend flow will start into India from overseas. So if there is a huge disincentive to bring the money back into India by way of a very high tax on the income which is coming from overseas by way of dividends, when the local dividend which is declared is exempt, then there is an inconsistency, number one. Number two, there is no incentive for the companies to bring back the profits which are earned overseas. I think it should be corrected in my view in that sense.
Now, there's another contentious issue which is on the sunset clause, section 10A and 10B for IT industry. We know that DTC hopefully will get implemented next year. But till then, do you think there's a case for extension of this sunset clause?
For 10B units, certainly, because there is this intervening 1 year, financial year 11-12, where one really doesn't know and is between two tax holidays as such. DTC is giving some tax holidays on an incentive basis. So there is need, and clearly industry is just recovering from this huge slowdown. A lot of tech companies are saying we are now seeing those spends, etc. So in the interest of harmonization, I think it doesn't hurt if you extend this so that to make it uniformly for this particular year, extend the 10B benefit. So I think the finance minister should heed the pleas of the IT and ITES sector in that sense.
Right. Now, Sachin, of course, the big elephant in the room is GST. The group of ministers and the finance minister has been struggling with it. Some good news coming from the finance minister saying that they'll probably introduce the constitutional amendment required to push it through, after in the budget session itself. But as far as excise duties are concerned, there was a rollback that happened in the last budget from 8 to 10%. So do you expect any sort of increase in excise duties this year?
I don't expect any kind of changes happening to the excise duty rate as of now. There are various reasons for that. At best, it could be that maybe the exemptions which are existing under excise and under the GST regime, there need to be a kind of harmonization of what is that rate which is existing in excise regime, vis-a-vis what is that rate existing in the VAT regime today. So the fact that we have proposed 20% GST rate for goods in the proposed GST regime, already the 12.5% VAT is already levied on the goods, and 10% excise duty is already here. In cases where there are concessional duties, there may be some kind of harmonization, but otherwise, even today with the 10% rate, the goods manufacturing industry is suffering a huge burden in terms of tax. As you know that the total GDP, almost about 25-26% is what the manufacturing industry contribute. The total tax collection, their share is somewhere around 60 to 70%. So that explains how the manufacturing industry is taxed to death by the present system.
So, Mr. Doshi, are you keeping your fingers crossed about any hike in passenger car excise duties, stuff like that?
Well, first of all, I'm biased here by asking me this question, but even if I was to give an objective comment, at this juncture, when our growth agenda is there, and of course one needs to think about balancing the budget and other issues, increasing the tax rates or withdrawing that fiscal incentive which was given by bringing down the excise rate which was partly withdrawn, there is no immediate case for again full withdrawal of that benefit which was granted. There are other avenues by which revenue can grow. Revenue can grow if there is a growth in the industry. Revenue can grow if you widen the tax base. Revenue can grow if your tax administration is more honest and effective.
Okay. Now, Sachin, before I go to a break, one quick question on this service tax rate. It's currently at 10%. Do you expect any sort of increase in this, or will it be held at 10%?
I mean, if you look at the avenues to mop up more tax, I would say that only the service tax is the only area where the finance minister can look at, and there is a reason for that matter. As you know that now the service contribution to the total GDP is somewhere around 60%, nearly 60%. And our tax, what is collected, indirect tax, what is collected is maybe something around now, maybe it may be touching 15%. So there's a huge imbalance between goods and services as of today. So from that perspective, if you look at, and again, and the GST regime, proposed GST regime, the service GST is supposed to be 16%. And today, we have a 10% service tax. And if at all the finance minister has to look at any kind of increase in collection of taxes, that's the only area I would say it is service sector.
So how much do you expect that to go up by?
Even I feel that it could be 10 may go up to 12%. End of the day, you know, they have to harmonize when, as and when GST introduced to 16%, then the service industry sooner or later have to resign to the fact that we have to pay more taxes.
Right.
So from that perspective, even a 20% increase, that with 10 to 12, can bring about at least about 12 to 14,000 crores a year.
Okay.
So that could be perhaps a focus area as far as the finance ministry is concerned, if at all they would like to raise the taxes.
Right. On that note, let me take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about how to keep the growth engine humming. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Budget 2011, the growth agenda. Mr. Doshi, this year we'll probably finish on an 8.5 or 8.6% to GDP growth. But are you worried about next year's growth?
There would be a worry because of the environment. And we're still getting signals globally that all is not well. And there could be more shocks coming. So there is an uncertainty in the mind of investors. And it is important to boost that confidence again. Let's look at just within India, not go outside, private sector. And you have seen just recent numbers which came out of the IIP production, 1.6%. And if you look at capital investment, and of course, we got a statement from Delhi that don't look at just 1 month's number. I entirely agree. One should not look
and
at
also a bigger base compared to this year on year.
Yeah. So one doesn't. But one is definitely seeing a slowdown in investment. And why? Because the confidence that the type of growth which we have seen in the last 2 years, whether it would be sustained. And if it can't be sustained, then investment at this juncture, when interest rates are rising, when environment is not very conducive, is a very difficult decision. So how to change that? So there is this concern on the growth agenda. Secondly, the fiscal deficit and the high inflation. I mean, both are very big concern. So we, of course, will manage below 5.5, which was the target. But will we do that next year when you may not have the same kind of spectrum contribution?
Or even need the 13th Finance Commission target of,
yes.
That's right, 13, 14, 3%.
And how do you do that? I mean, and wherefore FRBM, whether we will be able to meet the requirement. So, and it is a concern, therefore, as to what happens in the next year. And there is one, let's face it, the political uncertainty. I mean, the very fact that whether the budget session will take place peacefully or not. On the other hand, in the past 2 incidents, we have seen that otherwise they may fight, but the budget will pass through.
That's right.
I mean, but it just creates a worry in terms of the environment about the growth agenda.
Okay. Mr. Rao, are you also worried, or you're more sanguine about growth?
No, here we are very fortunate in India. We don't have any demand side problem. We have a very robust demand in almost all the sectors. We have a supply side problem. So therefore, we are only concerned how the government will be able to facilitate that the supply side will increase, that the investments will come, not only consumption demand. Investment demand also will increase. For that, we are looking forward for the budget, thereby growth momentum will be maintained. So how to incentivize the industry to take up more and more projects and create more capacities, thereby supply side can come in, the inflation problems will get addressed. At the same time, revenues to the government will increase. So that should be the focus in my view in the budget. So that is, I am more worried about how the government will be able to facilitate in this budget by way of reforms to incentivize the industry to create supply side rather than killing the demand.
I think that's an important point, Hitesh. But the fact is, there aren't too many avenues which is open to the finance minister to tap new revenue streams. So what are the realistic chances of actually opening up new streams of revenue for the government?
Well, on a macro perspective, though, there are no big ticket items, as you say, to increase revenues at one go. But I think there is a lot that the government can do. We've only talked about infrastructure, for example. You know, structurally, if we look at infrastructure, and what do we do to put that building block in place so that that becomes the engine of growth? And simple things. Let's take, from my limited perspective, on, let's say, the erstwhile exemption 1023G, which was available to infrastructure projects, both exemption from interest, exemption from capital gains to stimulate that investment into infrastructure projects. Now here is an opportunity where there is so much uncertainty, thanks to, you know, what we've heard, the governance deficit, if you call it that way politely. For the finance minister to come out and say boldly that yes, regardless of all that, as Mr. Doshi said, we put that in the past, we are focused on infrastructure, and these are the plans. For example, we know that the infrastructure bonds really, which were a small token 20,000, have really not taken off. So what can be done to tap, and I would say, again, another controversial thing is, there is a lot of talk about black money overseas being trying to brought in here. Forget the moral dilemma, the ethical dilemma, etc. of that money lying there, but if some portion of that can be channeled into infrastructure specifically, then that's another huge opportunity, because remember, this will give you a rolling juggernaut for future revenues.
Sachin, what sort of reform are you expecting in budget? Is it more in terms of irrigation plans or technology? What would you expect the FM to do?
I think one of the main cornerstone of any efficient tax administration is a robust system to tax the economy in a even manner across all sectors. So today the administrative mechanism for collection of taxes are in for a change, and we are talking about GST for a long time. And we expect that in this budget there could be some concrete step from the finance minister to announce that this is the way to go, and we are serious about GST.
So final comments from the panel here. Mr. Doshi, assuming the finance minister doesn't manage to delight everyone as industry and all of the stakeholders expect, do you expect the second half of this calendar year at least to be better than what it has been so far?
Well, I told you that I am an optimist. I also feel that our finance minister is a pragmatic finance minister, and he is hearing all the signals, and if he is feeling those signals, hearing those signals, I do expect that he would make the right policy initiatives, and we have a good chance of having a good second half.
Mr. Rao?
No, as I mentioned in the beginning, Indian economy direction for the growth, it is not changed. So it is continuing to be upward. So it might have slowed down in the last few months. So budget is an event which everybody is waiting for. So I feel budget will definitely take care of the aspects where it has to stimulate investments and stimulate consumption. So appropriate measures will be taken in that.
And should the budget lay a clear roadmap for both DTC and GST?
Of course it should, and I think with confidence, if the finance minister can articulate that agenda and say that, look, we are there to support growth, there's no reason to be pessimistic about why the second half, even the years going forward.
I'm sure that it is going to be a good year. The next half is far more exciting than what it was earlier, because except for this aberrations which you are hearing in terms of the political uncertainty and then the opposition stalling the proceedings, etc. I would say that there is a silver line even in that even we are becoming more and more transparent. I don't believe that such thing happened earlier, but the only thing is today we have come to know that something is happening. So I think we are in the right trajectory, and this whatever maybe those aberrations would definitely very temporary.
With that, it's a wrap on this episode of Budget 2011, The Growth Agenda. Keep watching ET Now. There's more news coming your way.